Biology Chapter 8 Study Guide, The Senses. Topic 1. General senses and neurons. Chemical senses. Senses that rely on receptors reacting to specific chemical molecules are classified as chemical senses. Quiz application. Taste and smell are chemical senses. Neuron structure. Not all neurons look the same. A neuron structure is dictated by its function, e.g., a rod cell in the eye looks very different from a hair cell in the ear. Quiz application. It is false that sensory neurons typically look the same. Topic 2. The ear, hearing, and equilibrium. Anatomy and function. Tympanic membrane. Eardrum. This is the boundary between the outer and middle ear. It is the first structure to vibrate when sound waves hit it. Eustachian tube connects the middle ear to the throat. Its primary job is balancing air pressure between the middle ear and the outside environment. Cochlea. The snail-shaped structure in the inner ear. It contains fluid and receptors that are sensitive to specific frequencies and energy. Semicircular canals. These loops in the inner ear are responsible for positional awareness, balance, and rotational equilibrium, not hearing. Auditory nerve. The specific nerve that carries sound impulses from the inner ear to the brain. Deep dive, short answer concepts. How the cochlea works. Vibrations from the middle ear bones push against the cochlea. This causes the fluid inside the cochlea to move, ripple. This fluid movement bends tiny hair cells lined up inside the cochlea. The bending of these hairs converts the mechanical motion into an electrical nerve impulse sent to the brain. Topic 3. The eye, vision. Anatomy and function. Retina. The layer at the back of the eye where light-sensing cells are located. It detects specific wavelengths of light. Lens. The flexible structure behind the pupil responsible for focusing light onto the retina. Glaucoma. A disorder caused by too much pressure, fluid buildup, inside the eye, which can damage the retina and optic nerve. Deep dive, short answer concepts. How eyes focus. The lens is flexible. Muscles inside the eye, ciliary muscles, contract or relax to change the shape of the lens. To see near objects, the lens becomes thicker/rounder. To see far objects, the lens becomes flatter. The blind spot. You have a blind spot because there is a specific point on the retina where the optic nerve leaves the eye. In this exact spot, there are no photoreceptor cells, rods, or cones to detect light, creating a gap in vision. General concepts. Types of senses. Understand the difference between chemical senses, like taste and smell, and mechanical/somatic senses. Nerves. Know which specific cranial nerves are responsible for carrying impulses from the eye and the ear to the brain. Neurons. Be able to determine if sensory neurons typically look identical to one another, or if they vary. The ear and hearing. Pathway of sound. Trace the path of a sound wave as it enters the ear. Know which structure vibrates first upon impact. Structures and functions. Cochlea. Be able to describe how the cochlea works and identify it as the structure containing receptors for specific frequencies. Eustachian tube. Understand its role in balancing pressure between the middle ear and the outside environment. Semicircular canals. Know their function regarding balance and positional awareness. The eye and vision. Focusing. Describe how the eye focuses light and identify the specific structure responsible for this task. Receptors. Know where the cells specific to sensing light wavelengths are located within the eye. The blind spot. Explain why the blind spot exists in the human eye. Disorders. Be able to identify the disorder caused by excess pressure in the eye that can damage the retina. Diagrams to study. You will be expected to label diagrams of both the ear and the eye using a word bank. Make sure you can locate the following structures. Ear, outer ear, middle ear, inner ear, malleus, incus, stapes. Know where these bones are located. Cochlea, semicircular canals, tympanic membrane, ear canal, cochlear nerve. Eye, cornea, retina, optic nerve, pupil, iris, aqueous humor, vitreous humor, lens, ciliary bodies. Part 2. Cumulative review, botany and classification. Leaf arrangement. Be able to identify leaf arrangements, rosette, opposite, alternate, whorled, from a diagram. Energy sources. Distinguish the difference between an autotroph and a heterotroph. Plant stems. Identify the type of bud responsible for lengthening a twig, terminal versus lateral/axillary. Know the name for the bundles of xylem and phloem in herbaceous stems. Classification. Know the definition of angiosperms regarding their seeds and fruits. Understand the basis of traditional biological classification, e.g., body structure versus evolutionary descent.